The air in that classroom was always thick and charged. It wasn't just the stale ventilation. It was the constant, low-humming tension between me and Ms. White. I was TJ, the inner-city transfer student. She was Ms. White, the pillar of old money tradition and quiet, meticulous prejudice. From the moment she found out I transferred in, she made it her personal mission. She wanted me to feel like a visitor, a fraud, a problem they hadn't quite solved yet. I lived with that feeling for 3 months, that tight knot in my stomach every time I walked into her chemistry class. But today, the tension was different. Today, I wasn't just surviving, I was hunting. It started with the laptop, of course. Everything always did. TJ, she drawled, her voice hitting that perfect pitch of patronizing sweetness. Since you're so good with urban technology, why don't you set up the laptop while I use the bathroom? She didn't mean urban technology. She meant, you're black. You must be good at computers. I saw the subtle eye roll from Leah in the back row. We all understood the coded language. My hands felt steady despite the moment. This was the moment we had planned for. No problem, Ms. White, I said, maybe a little too cheerfully. As soon as the bathroom door clicked shut, the clock started ticking. I moved fast, but deliberately. My adrenaline was spiking, yet my movements were precise. I logged onto the teacher's laptop. I didn't connect to the projector yet. First, I opened the Zoom app. I hit New Meeting. And then I sent the link to the single most important email address in the entire school. The meeting connected instantly. Principal Lint's face popped up. She wasn't alone. Superintendent Scarlett, the school board president, was sitting right next to her. Their expressions were calm, professional, and slightly grim. No greetings, no sound. Just two people watching history unfold. I quickly minimized the Zoom window. It was running silently in the background, its microphone live, its camera pointing toward the desk. Everything was set. Now for the bait. From my backpack, I pulled out a perfectly crisp piece of paper. It wasn't just any piece of paper. It was my Yale acceptance letter. I folded it just once, casually, and laid it right on the edge of the desk, in the precise spot where she couldn't miss it. The crimson Yale University crest practically screamed, rage bait. I finished setting up the main projector, took my seat, and waited. The silence in the room was electric. The other students were confused, but they sensed the change in the atmosphere. They knew something big was about to happen. Ms. White strolled back in, hands neatly folded. Her eyes swept the room, checking for disruptions, checking for order, checking for me. They snagged instantly on the paper. Her smile faltered, replaced by a tight, familiar sneer. She walked over, picked it up with 2 fingers like it was contaminated. She read the letterhead. Then she laughed. It wasn't a genuine laugh. It was sharp, theatrical, and designed to sting. "Class," she announced, holding the letter aloft like a dirty sock. "This is why college admissions are broken." She shook her head slowly, melodramatically. "Merit doesn't matter anymore when you check the right boxes. Bingo, hook, line, and sinker." The words slammed into my chest, heavy and familiar. But this time, they didn't break me. They fueled me. Behind her, I caught Beth, the popular girl and typically silent witness, mouthing, "I'm sorry." Beth was finally seeing it too. Ms. White was on a roll. She hadn't even paused to breathe. She circled my desk like a shark. She pulled out my lunch from under my textbook. It was wrapped tightly in foil. "Gas station food again?" She wrinkled her nose, genuinely repulsed. She unwrapped it slightly, revealing the cheap breakfast taco inside. "Stand up, TJ, show everyone your shoes." My legs felt like lead. The humiliation was a hot flash across my face, but I stood anyway. I kept my chin up. The sole of my left shoe had started separating last week. I'd been using super glue and sheer hope to hold it together. I knew they looked ragged. I knew. "This is why we have dress codes, students," she lectured, her voice resonating slightly in the open microphone of the minimized Zoom call. "To maintain standards." Then her eyes landed on the small, almost invisible stain on my uniform shirt. "Before we continue, we would like to thank all of you who support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. The only appreciation we ask of you is that you subscribe, like, and share this video if you are not yet one of our subscribers. Thank you. Did your single mommy forget to wash it, or do you only own one uniform? The blow landed exactly where she intended, below the belt, straight to the core of my insecurity. My mother works 3 exhausting jobs to keep us afloat. Every dollar is counted, every purchase debated. She knew that. She held up my last chemistry quiz, a B+. And you got a B+? The disappointment in her voice was curdled with contempt. She shook her head theatrically. All those teachers who vouched for you, Mr. Ablake, Miss Callahan, even Principal Lint, they stuck their necks out for what? For you to get into university to fill a diversity quota. The words sliced through the quiet. Leah whispered, her voice tight. This is so messed up. Ms. White's head snapped toward Leah, her fury temporarily diverted, but she was too high on her own power trip to stop. Your little brother looks up to you, she continued, turning back to me, her voice getting louder, harder. Poor kid doesn't know better. Doesn't know his hero can barely maintain a B average at a real school. Chase Johnson, our 6-foot-tall quarterback, finally had enough. He stood up abruptly. Mrs. Dwight, this isn't... Sit down, Chase. Her scream was so loud it made everyone jump. Or you'll be next. Don't think your scholarship makes you special. The slight echo from the speakers was unmistakable. Ms. White glanced quickly at the computer. She shook her head, dismissing it, thinking it was the intercom system. She had no idea the trap was closing. Part 2. The confession. Ms. White was entirely consumed by her own toxic momentum. She didn't notice the fear in the room, only the silent submission she believed was her due. She zeroed back in on me. The teacher's pet, Sophie Williams, looked pale, truly shaken by the spectacle. Ms. White came close enough that I could smell the strong coffee on her breath. You cheated on the Yale application, she whispered, low and venomous. Admit it. I stayed silent. My heart was hammering, but my mind was laser-focused. Keep talking, Ms. White. Say the quiet part out loud. Your type always claims racism when held accountable, she pressed. But I know what you are. A charity case who gamed the system. This was exactly the narrative she had been pushing for months. But now she was stepping beyond microaggressions. Tell everyone why you can't go on the field trip next month. She was relishing this public degradation. When I stayed silent, she answered for me, her voice booming. Because even the subsidized cost is too much. Isn't that right? Then came the threat. The quiet, insidious venom that proved this wasn't just about superiority. It was about destruction. Your father in prison? She asked, knowing damn well my dad died serving overseas. That's usually the story, isn't it? Dead or in jail, which one is yours? Then, quieter so only I could hear the full malice, she leaned in further. Immigration checks employment records these days, even for citizens. Would be a shame if someone reported your mother's 3 jobs to the IRS. I snapped, not with anger, but with the cold realization that she was an immediate danger to my family. You're threatening me. I didn't shout, I projected. I said it loud enough for the open microphone. Loud enough for Principal Lint and Superintendent Scarlett to hear clearly through the Zoom speakers. Threatening? She recoiled, laughing again. I'm just sharing information. I have over 20 years of experience protecting this school from your kind. Just like you protected it with Deshaun Okafor. The entire room froze. Deshaun Okafor. He was a legend here 2 years ago. A physics prodigy who mysteriously lost his Cornell scholarship right before graduation. I knew I was taking a massive risk. I needed her to confess the larger truth. I needed to let her self-obsession run its course. She kept talking, spiraling with self-congratulation. One email about his gang affiliations was all it took for his Cornell scholarship to be revoked. Last I heard, he was working at Dollar Tree. The silence shattered. That was you, Chase said from the back row, his voice shaking with disbelief and rage. Deshaun was my cousin. He never did anything wrong. She didn't care. She was pacing now, lost in her own power trip, revealing years of sabotage. I've given IC addresses. Legal or not, they always investigate. Amazing what happens when anonymous tips come from concerned teachers. That was the moment. The full scope of her poisonous tenure was laid bare. I took a deep breath and delivered the line that would end everything. "Miss White, you might want to look at your computer screen." She spun around, confused, momentarily pulled from her narrative. Then she saw it. The minimized zoom window, the one showing Principal Lint's face. And next to her, Superintendent Scarlett. Ms. White's eyes went impossibly wide. Her face drained completely white, like all the blood had been instantly vacuumed out. The classroom was so quiet I could hear the frantic pounding of my own heart in my ears. Principal Lint's voice, calm and professional, came through the speakers. It was firm, reading a script of inevitable consequences. "Ms. Dwight, end the lesson immediately. Please remain in the classroom." Ms. White just stood there, frozen, staring at the screen. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She lunged for the mouse, her hands trembling so violently she could barely operate the trackpad. She kept trying to click, trying to close the window, to silence the witnesses. Before we continue, we would like to thank all of you who support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. The only appreciation we ask of you is that you subscribe, like, and share this video, if you are not yet one of our subscribers. Thank you. She started stammering, rapidly trying to explain herself to the screen. Something about context, about misunderstandings. Principal Lint cut her off mid-sentence. "An administrator would arrive soon," she said. I stayed frozen at my desk. The Yale letter lay exactly where I'd left it. I couldn't look away from Ms. White's face as her entire world collapsed in front of us. She kept clicking, stammering, trying to beg the professional, neutral faces on the screen for mercy. Superintendent Scarlett still hadn't said a word. She just watched. Exactly 5 minutes later, an administrative aide walked in. I had never seen her before. A short woman in a gray suit moving with brisk efficiency. She walked straight to my desk. "TJ," she whispered, her voice low. "Please gather your things." She addressed the class quickly. School was dismissed early. Everyone should go to their next period or leave campus. I stuffed my notebooks into my backpack. The Yale letter got crumpled in the rush. I could feel every single person's eyes fixed on me. The whispers started spreading before I even zipped my bag. I followed the aide toward the door. Ms. White was still standing near her desk, lost and confused. She didn't even try to stop me. The walk to the principal's office felt endless, though it was just 2 hallways. My legs were shaky. I kept replaying Ms. White's horrified expression when she saw the Zoom call. Every step felt significant, like I was walking toward an outcome I couldn't take back.